What's up, guys? Long day. We just finished the first round of the draft and we're here streaming. This is Blake and Vish Sports, episode 30. And we are joined by a very special guest, Akash Anavarathan from Niners Nation. Really special guest. I think he was hoping for Justin Fields, but I think we're all pretty excited with the direction the Niners went. And we're here to break down the Niners draft pick. So, Blake, Akash, how are we doing?
I'm doing good, man. Appreciate you for having me.
Appreciate you for coming on. This is big. You've been blowing up. You're up next. So for us to have you on is actually a big deal.
Thanks, man. It's all good. It's all in good fun. It's been, especially over the last couple months, with the draft and all that stuff and the Niners trading up. I really appreciate Kyle Shanahan not tipping his hand because it's allowed us to create a ton of content around it, and so we all win.
Absolutely. Blake, I know you were a little bit uneasy about the Packers pick, but how was the draft overall for you?
Yeah, I liked it a lot. Not as many, I feel like ESPN, I watched the ESPN versions and I feel like they do a lot of sob stories, but there wasn't as many this year where it's they talk about some deceased family member for the guy, and they didn't have that the first round. And I was like, thank you for not putting that in. I liked it. Mel Kiper's the best. So definitely some surprises, that always happens. And it was fun watching the quarterbacks go in a unpredictable order besides the top two, at least in my eyes. So it was good.
Absolutely. Oh, my God. Thank you, Jamal. Here we go. Go Niners. You already know it. All right, so let's get into it, boys. What's our reaction to this Trey Lance pick? Akash, we got to start with you because you were riding this Justin Fields I was a Justin Fields guy, Blake was a Justin Fields guy, but you were the conductor of this train. You were driving it for the last 2 months, and they picked Trey Lance. I don't know if you're disappointed. I know you got to be in that initial media Zoom call with Trey Lance, so talk to me about your reaction to the pick, your thoughts on Trey Lance, all of it.
Yeah, so I'll give you the whole scenario. So basically from 2 months ago when we were just watching quarterbacks because we thought that the Niners may take one at 12 or they should trade up to get one. Just throughout that entire process, Justin Fields just became my favorite quarterback that I watched. I didn't watch Trevor Lawrence. I watched the other four guys, Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, Trey Lance, and Mac Jones. And Zach Wilson and Trevor Lawrence kind of fell into the middle, and then Mac Jones was a distant fourth. And I was convinced that with his accuracy, with his physical skill set, with his connection through QB Collective and all the pro day pictures and just putting all these pieces together, I was convinced that he was going to be the pick at number 3. And I think ultimately it came down to Justin Fields and Trey Lance for the 49ers. I just never bought into the Mac Jones hype. And given all that, they went with Trey Lance. And if you listen to Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch today, speak at the press conference, Kyle Shanahan went on for 2 minutes about why he picked Trey Lance. I tweeted the clip. Go check it out. Kyle mainly hit on his biggest thing was Trey Lance really knows how to run the offense. He was really impressed by his intellect. I think the thing that Trey Lance, had checks at the line, changed protections, just really understood the offense was something that Kyle Shanahan was blown away by. He also was really impressed by the fact that Trey Lance always had an out, whether it was nowhere to go with the ball, get rid of it, don't take extra sacks, which felt like a shot at Justin Fields a little bit because that was one of his flaws. And then they talked about the person, the character, the football IQ. And I think ultimately that's what won them over. And as I listened to Trey Lance about a half hour ago, you can tell from just those 10 minutes that he's a really high level guy. He just talked about wanting to come in and learn, and he isn't worried about long-term or what his ceiling is going to be or anything like that. He's just there's only been an hour since I got drafted. I just want to come in and learn from Jimmy, and we'll see where it goes from there. So it seems like he's an easy guy to root for, which makes the whole Justin Fields, Trey Lance thing a lot easier. It would have been a lot different if it was Mac Jones or whatever. But, I think his upside is immense. He's going to have Kyle Shanahan and Rich Gangarello and a stable organization for him to develop into. And ultimately, I think we're going to see a powerhouse.
So, Blake, you lost $50 tonight. You put $50 on Justin Fields a little while ago. Talk to me about how you feel about Trey Lance and Trey Lance being the pick.
Yeah, so when it originally happened, I mean, I think, most of the people, even people in the Niners organization, they were saying, like, people like personnel and staff, they had no idea who the pick was. It was a surprise to me. I thought they were going Fields even through all the turmoil and all the, Mac Jones hype and stuff. So it was a surprise to me, but the more I listened to him and talk on stage, they were asking him questions about Jimmy and stuff, but he was very professional, and that's obviously what you want to see. He says all the right things, very intelligent and all that. So that was awesome, obviously, and him fitting in with the Niners. I know we were talking, Fields versus Wilson in a prior video, but Lance will definitely fit in really nice as well. I know Akash mentioned, very smart player, knows where to go with the ball, can, make checks at the line and all that. So that's good. I know, obviously his arm is massive and he has a really quick release. So I'm excited to see what he can do with these weapons, even though I'm obviously not the biggest Niners guy, but it's going to be cool watching him with Kittle and Debo and Ayuk. It seems like everyone the Niners have is just a beast, in the open field. And I mean, even this dude's going to be breaking tackles and going for, after the contact. So it's going to be cool to watch him, honestly. And he's definitely seems like a very professional dude. And maybe you can't say that about like Mac Jones and not, with the DUI situation. So Trey Lance seems to be just a pro's pro and seems like he'll be a good fit for the Niners org.
Yeah, so I mean, again, I fall into I was also lower on Trey Lance throughout this process. And a lot of you guys in the comments section were always yelling at Blake and I in every stream, like, no, you guys are wrong. It's going to be Trey Lance. It's going to be Trey Lance. So I want to start off by saying props to every single one of you. You guys were right. We were wrong. But I want to go into how I reacted to the Trey Lance pick. I reacted really happy. Look, throughout this process, honestly, I wasn't like this is my first time really getting into these quarterbacks and watching every throws, but I wasn't looking at my opinion and saying like, because I think Justin Fields is better than Trey Lance, like I'm right or whatever. Honestly, throughout it, I was just like, whoever Kyle gets, I'm going to be happy because I just want Kyle Shanahan to get his guy. And a lot of you get mad because I'm a huge Kyle Shanahan fan, but that's just who I am. I'm a Stanahan. But getting into the reaction of the Trey Lance pick, I'm really excited because, Blake, both you and Akash hit on it perfectly, I think. Like, the one thing that stands out about Trey Lance is that he's the highest of highest character. When I heard his interviews, I think he did a string of like 6 interviews. Rich Eisen, Chris Sims, Dan Patrick, a bunch of different people. And Kyle went on and did his – Kyle Posey, shout out to Akash, Kyle Posey, Shanaplan podcast, check it out, best podcast out there. But when you listen to him speak, it is the most professional I've ever heard pre-draft interview. Like I've never seen anybody interview like that. The best interviewer I think I saw as a rookie was Dak Prescott, and I would say he's every bit as impressed. He comes across every bit as impressive as Dak Prescott. And honestly, that was one of the things I was a little miffed by with Mac Jones is that I felt like he was a little laissez-faire when he comes across in interviews. He was a little like kind of just super loose, like kind of weird energy and laughing. And it's nothing against him, but Trey Lance just has this presence that you can feel. So I think that's one thing that set him apart because John Lynch has talked about those things in the past. If you remember 2018 draft, he said Mike McGlinchey, Derwin James, and Sony Michel were the most impressive people he saw. And he talked about how Mike McGlinchey, how impressive he was as a human being, rubbed off on him a lot. And so that was one thing. And they've talked about it with other players, Fred Warner's and other guys. So in regards to that, Trey Lance makes a ton of sense. And then let's go into like the football aspect of it. Like I can see the fit, right? Like I can see why you like Trey Lance over Justin Fields. I like Justin Fields more, but I was talking to Akash about this and Grant about this. Like over the last week, what I realized was that outside of Trevor Lawrence, I could take the next 4 quarterbacks and I felt like I could make for each of them an argument why one is better than the other. I could make an argument why Mac Jones was better than Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, and Trey Lance. I felt like I could make an argument why Justin Fields was better than the other 3. I could make an argument why Zach Wilson's being better than the other 3. And I could make an argument why Trey Lance is better than the other 3. So honestly, It makes sense. We know about the physical tools. You guys hit on him. Huge arm, special runner, special athlete. We know about the intangibles. We know that he was able to call his protections. A lot of you guys talked about that in the comments. He ran a pro style system and all of that. So all of those things were awesome. And I think the one thing for me that really set him apart from Justin Fields is that quicker release. It's the fact that if there's one flaw you can really say with Justin Fields, it's that he is not great 0 to 5 yards. And we've seen with this offense, a lot of the offense is just throwing the ball 0 to 5 yards, and Trey Lance excels at that. And that's why I tweeted out right after, I think he should start, because I think he's fantastic throwing the ball 0 to 5 yards. So I think you can have the Jimmy passing game with his run game as his accuracy and as he improves throwing the ball down intermediate and down the field, and as he gets more confident in that. We can definitely touch on that right here, but that's my instant reaction to the Trey Lance pick. I'm super excited as a Niners fan. We get this super mega talented quarterback, which we haven't had since Kaepernick. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, so there are things he does need to work on, and ultimately that's why I think you and I were lower on him than some of the other guys. And the biggest thing is his accuracy, right? He might have been the most inaccurate quarterback of the top 5, I should say, which I was hesitant about, right? And it's hard to tell, is that like a lack of reps? Is that something he's worked on between 2019 and now? It's just hard to tell because there was just limited film. And even in his, 17 games, I think he only threw the ball like 100 and 200 times, 190 times. It was some limited.
It was 288 if you don't include the showcase.
Okay, so 288, which compared to the other guys is really, really little. Because I think Mac Jones and Justin Fields were in like the 600 range. Zach Wilson was like 800 range, and Trevor Lawrence was like over 1,000. So, again, really limited just amount of tape that you're going off of. And that against lower level competition just makes you hesitant, right? It's hard to project like, okay, how is this player going to look? But the things that like you and I just cannot tell is, how does this guy do in interviews? How does this guy do on the whiteboard? How does this guy do in the Zoom meetings? Like all that stuff. And clearly he was like superior to the other guys. And I think that made Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch comfortable to go ahead and take a swing here.
Interesting. Yep. And I wanted to ask you guys, so they still have Jimmy. They don't know if he's going to, be cut or traded. Do you think it's a wise idea to have him there? And due to Trey Lance's limited reps, maybe start with Jimmy G and, let Trey Lance get his feet under himself before he steps in for the Niners? Or do you think they'll go the other route and just have him start from day one in the regular season?
So I don't think you have to rush to trade Jimmy G. You can bring him in. You can bring him into camp. I actually don't know who Jimmy G's suitor is at the moment, with Denver getting Teddy Bridgewater, and because you have to, the only way Jimmy G is going to find a new team is after the Aaron Rodgers situation plays out, which we're going to talk about now. So until like the Packers know for sure that Aaron Rodgers isn't going anywhere, or Aaron Rodgers does get traded, you can't do anything with Jimmy G. So the Niners are stuck with Jimmy G. The one thing I will say is that if Trey Lance is progressing as you expect, I think he should start week 1. Look, the thing with him that we all have a problem with is he didn't play, right? So by sitting him, you're going to polish his game, but what he needs is reps. Like, I think the thing with Trey Lance is he's the weirdest prospect, and this is why, Blake, we did a topic where we talked about how he's the most intriguing prospect in this entire draft, because he's advanced and not polished at the same time. Like, he's advanced mentally, but he's not polished because he doesn't have a lot of game. And he throws a lot of passes that aren't raw, like they're layered over the middle. They're really, really good. He throws balls with great touch occasionally. He throws some with great velocity. Like, he has these throws that are just the highest and highest of levels. And then he has these weird misses that are like, wait, how did you miss that? So like, he's intriguing because he's so polished, but yet not polished at the same time. Well, that's only going to improve if he plays. And that's where I say, like, if he's ready, I don't see the reason to start Jimmy G, because what is Jimmy G giving you that Trey Lance wouldn't be giving you? And with Trey Lance day one, and this is the most intriguing thing to me, with Trey Lance day one, this run game is going to be spectacular. When you add George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson, with Trey Lance as this ball carrier, and hopefully he has all the ball handling where he can pull it in, pull it out, I didn't mean to say it like that. But
we got you.
Yeah. The Lamar Jackson ball handling to do the read option and all of that, like this run game can be special.
Yeah, I mean, so on the Jimmy Garoppolo front, I think Kyle Shanahan talked about how they really want Jimmy now and how he's valuable and blah, blah, blah. And, honestly, I think he's just not lying, but he just has to say that, right? Because like Vish mentioned, the suitors dried up. So originally, Denver was in the mix. They took Teddy Bridgewater. I mean, I would too. 6th-round pick, just better value. New England was a possibility. They took Mac Jones. Chicago was a possibility. They took Justin Fields. I guess Washington still kind of lingers there, but like the other teams that were in the mix for Garoppolo, all gone now. So it takes 2 to tango, and they just don't have a partner. So Jimmy Garoppolo just might be back on the roster, which again, it is what it is. I mean, they have the cap space to be able to eat his $26 million cap hit. Worst case scenario, if Trey Lance doesn't develop as expected, you roll Jimmy Garoppolo out. But it's going to be awkward as we get into the season and Jimmy Garoppolo has a bad game. Jimmy Garoppolo has a couple of bad throws. All of a sudden, the questions start to become, when's Trey Lance going to play? The noise starts to ramp up a little bit, and there's a lot of pressure on Shanahan to win this season. I mean, they've had 3 out of 4 losing seasons. I mean, you've got this franchise quarterback now. It's like we got to start winning some games here, right? We got to start having some results, and ultimately, I think that's going to lead him to make a move here. And it's easier for the franchise if Garoppolo isn't there, but it takes 2 to tango in a trade, and they just haven't found someone that will pay the proper value for Garoppolo.
Blake, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, it's definitely interesting now, with someone who kind of, like you said, maybe is a little more polished like we think Fields is. You'd feel more maybe inclined to think, okay, Fields is definitely day one starter. But, as we mentioned, maybe Lance isn't as polished as Fields or maybe Mac Jones or Wilson or whatever you may think. So that was kind of my thought, is like maybe Jimmy stays for a couple games until A, he either gets injured, or B, his performance is not what you'd hope it to be. And it's just time for Trey Lance, and you just unleash the beast pretty much. Bring him in.
I also think even they could have like a Taysom Hill wildcat package for Trey Lance. And I know you hate me saying Taysom Hill, but hear me out. I think, in short down situations, in like 4th and 2, 3rd and less than 3, goal line situations, having Trey Lance use his legs and also get in-game reps, I think it's a smart thing.
Okay.
You just hate that I said Taysom Hill.
No. That Taysom Hill package pisses me off. It pissed me off when they did it with Joe Flacco and Lamar Jackson too. They both look like idiots. Flacco looked upset to be standing out there as a receiver. He would have his hands on his hips and pouting, and they would give Lamar Jackson
take Jimmy Garoppolo out.
Yeah, but I hated that. Like, I really despised it. But I think they should just go with him, because my question is, want him? Is Jimmy going to, this is a big if, and now the Niners have time because they can't unload Jimmy. So the big if is if he's learning the offense, and by all accounts, his brain is his biggest strength. He has all these tangible physical gifts, but the entire thing we've heard throughout this process is that he is the smartest quarterback in the draft. So if he is consuming this offense, which is really where the question is, what is Jimmy giving you to me that he can't give you? If you're going to say, well, Lance's intermediate and down the field accuracy needs to improve, Jimmy's down the field right. He's not giving you anything there. And if you're talking about Lance's ball placement, I've always argued that Jimmy Garoppolo is an accurate quarterback, not a precise one. His ball placement is very poor. If you want to see an example of bad ball placement, go watch the Super Bowl. Every single throw is just a little behind the receiver, a little in front of the receiver, a little high, a little low. And that's what Jimmy Garoppolo was. So he's not really giving you an advantage there. And then Trey Lance gives you this special added element of his legs and his ability to run. I just see no point, honestly. I see no point. Just throw him in there. I don't think it changes anything. Like, look at Baltimore. Lamar Jackson, do you think waiting like 7 games helped him? He went, 6-1? Over the last 8 games to take them into the playoffs, or he went 5-2. I just say, put him in the game. Let's go.
I do agree with that. And I think a lot of that will be schedule dependent. right? So say the Niners have like an early bye or something like that, a couple weeks in the season, or say they have like a horrible start to the season. I just think it's hard to just be like, okay, let's roll Trey Lance out there week 1, even though like the fan side of me just wants to be like, I don't want to see Garoppolo, just throw Trey Lance in there. But yeah, I think it depends on, are there going to be OTAs? Is there going to be in-person mini camp? Is there going to be what training camp? Like, what does that look like? Like, I think there's a lot more factors that go into it. But I do agree, and I disagree with the people that say, oh, Lance needs to sit here, like he needs a development. I think one of his biggest strengths is that he played in a pro-style offense. He played under center. He used a lot of play action. They ran a lot of similar concepts to the 49ers. So, like, that stuff should translate, right? You can't give me that argument for why they should take him and then give me that argument for why they should sit him for a year or two. So,
and honestly, Blake, my bad, before you go, it just comes down to that one thing, and they can see that is how is he picking up the offense? And if he's as smart as they think he is, which I think we all think, because he comes across as very, very intelligent whenever you get a chance to hear him speak, then that part shouldn't be an issue for him. Then his only thing is that he needs actually tangible physical reps playing, and the only way he's going to get that is by going into games.
Yeah.
So shall we move on to the quarterback that all three of us wanted? Oh, we have a question. Let's take this before we go. Great first pick. We have round 2, pick 43 round. Who would you guys pick? Let's go 49ers. Keep crushing it. So who would you guys take at 43? Or who is your preference, Akash?
I think secondary is a big need. I've talked about, Jason Verrett, Emmanuel Mosley, K'Wan Williams, all guys that have gotten hurt last year, and you're suddenly a couple injuries away from like a Brian Allen situation. So I'd look to, I know you and I have talked about Tyson Campbell potentially being there. Just someone like that I would try to target at pick 43. Maybe Elijah Moore slips. Maybe there's Rondell Moore still on the board, and you take like a receiver. I can see something like that. So I would think like a skill position player at 43.
Blake, anybody in mind?
Yeah, I like both those options. I was thinking a different route, though, and this is a guy who would actually beef up the interior O-line, and that's Creed Humphrey. I think he'd be awesome. Played at Alabama, guard.
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma, yeah. But played in some big-time games for Oklahoma. Solid guard. I think he'd be awesome on the interior line, but like as Akash said, like receiver, there's a need there. And I think cornerback or secondary just in general is probably the biggest need. And there's a lot of guys, Tyson Campbell, Asante Samuel Jr., other dudes that, are projected in that area. So those would all be good options. And they have a, earlier pick in the second round to actually make that happen.
Yeah, so round 2, pick 43, I'm kind of between 3 or 4 players. I think you guys addressed the correct positions. I just have different players in mind. For corner, I'm with you guys. Tyson Campbell, to me, is the guy, and I think he's the perfect guy to take over after Jason Verrett. So I think he would be perfect right there. And then if Terrace Marshall continues to fall, to me, he's definitely a round 1 receiver. He can play all 3 spots. He would be a perfect fit, and he would our receiving core would be unbelievable with him. And then Blake, I like the interior O-line idea. Landon Dickerson is coming off a torn ACL. Maybe you can redshirt him a year. I know people hate the ACL picks. Everybody has bad memories from Trent Baalke, but get Landon Dickerson, have him sit this year, and then next year maybe he starts at right guard and eventually becomes your center. But I think that would be the third kind of way to go. And then the fourth thing is that there were less pass rushers actually that went than I thought. I thought Azeez Ojulari and Jason Owe would all go, but they didn't go. And so for that reason, if one of them falls, I think they would be the perfect kind of guy for the Niners to get target at 43, especially Owe.
I think Owe just went 31 to the Ravens.
Did Owe go? Oh, my bad. Azeez Ojulari, though, would still kind of fit that similar mode. My fault.
Right. He had knee concerns. I think that's why he's sliding, right? He had some health issues or health concerns that's causing him to drop with Ojulari. So,
Okay. I actually didn't know about his knee. What happened?
I had read something quickly on social that had to do with some health related. That's why he's sliding, even though he's a good player. Let me look.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, Kosh, I know you got to go soon. So, shall we talk Fields and then close it?
Yeah, Fields. We talk Packers.
Yeah, we'll be back tomorrow, guys. So don't worry, we'll break this down a little more in depth. I actually have 2 exams tomorrow, so I also got to pull an all-nighter in about like 5 or 6 minutes so I can study for those. But so let's talk about this. Justin Fields to the Bears. For us, Blake, and that's our local team. That's a quarterback we like. Like, I went from like a big Justin Fields fan, and then I'm like, oh shoot, he went to the Bears. That's very disappointing. But Akash, I saw you tweeted something about the Bears protecting your prince, Justin Fields. Let's talk about this. Justin Fields going to the Chicago Bears. Tell me, what's your reaction?
Well, he kept slipping, right? So the Niners made their pick at 3. And then Atlanta took Kyle Pitts at 4. And I was on a different live stream. We were talking Niners. And I was just so focused on that. I wasn't paying attention to the subsequent picks. And I look up and it's like pick 9 and Justin Fields still on the board. I'm like, oh my God. Is he going to make it to like 15 to New England? And I'm like, the Niners could have been there at 12, just taking him. Like, all these thoughts going through my mind. And then all of a sudden Chicago jumps up. And I'm like, oh God, he's going to Chicago, isn't he? And it's not like Chicago's had a ton of success with quarterbacks. I know Vish, you're in the area or you live there. But yeah, I mean, I still don't know why Justin Fields fell that far. He always seemed to be the consensus number 2 guy next to Trevor Lawrence. I didn't think he did anything at Ohio State that would make you question that. Yet he was the 4th quarterback taken. I paralleled it to kind of the Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson thing. Those 2 guys coming out in 2017, Mahomes went ahead of Deshaun Watson, but Deshaun Watson was like way more well-known nationally. And it feels like kind of the same thing with Lance and Fields, where Fields is just more nationally well-known, but he's going after Lance. And so, yeah, I mean, I just said, take care of sweet young Prince. He was one of my favorite prospects I've probably watched in the last 3 or 4 years. And it's just sad he's not with the team that I watch on a routine basis.
Blake?
So, yeah, I mean, when you're watching, you see the pick has been traded. And it was, for me, it was the ESPN. So it was, Subway trade or whatever. And I'm like, oh, no. There's a trade. I'm like, there's 2 teams I do not want to be trading up, and that's the Patriots. And they got a quarterback at 15. So, I mean, I'm not happy with that. But it was the Bears trading up, and I'm like, I mean, I know who they're taking here. It's pretty clear. There's no other reason they trade up. But I was like, okay, what was the point of signing Andy Dalton if you're going to have him, Foles, and Fields on the roster? That didn't make sense to me. And he's maybe not surrounded by the most talented people, but at the end of the day, like Robinson, Anthony Miller aren't terrible. They drafted a tight end 2nd round last year, Cole Kmet. O-line's hopefully getting better if they aren't as injured, and probably will draft more. And then David Montgomery's an all right back. So I guess we'll see if Matt Nagy's really a good offensive-minded coach or not is kind of the bottom line here. And will he put Fields in positions to succeed? But, history says Chicago's kind of the wasteland for quarterbacks. So hopefully it continues. As a Packers fan, I don't wish ill on him. Just, he's a Bear now. So exciting for them, I guess.
Jordan Love versus Justin Fields next year.
Oh, it's gonna be exciting.
So I actually felt bad for Justin Fields. This is not where I would want him to go as a fan of him throughout this process. I really like his talent, and yeah, this is really not where I would like him to go. I just think the Bears are a bad place for a quarterback. Like, I don't like the fact that Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace have 0 job security and they're drafting a quarterback. This is exactly what happened to Mitchell Trubisky with John Fox. And John Fox left and Matt Nagy comes in. And so, first of all, if Justin Fields gets a new coach next season, that's not ideal. Second, he is without a doubt the most gifted quarterback in the history of the Chicago Bears. Nobody even comes close. Mm-hmm. He is the most talented quarterback. And I still believe that he has mega talent, but to overcome what they have in Chicago, I don't think Matt Nagy has a very good offense. So I don't love that. And I just I just hate the fit. It's just, man, I just don't trust the Bears with quarterbacks, and I feel bad for Justin Fields. I really do, because like you look at Trey Lance and Justin Fields, and Trey Lance went to the single best probably place or situation that we've ever seen a quarterback go to, and I think Justin Fields just kind of like, you get drafted where you get drafted, but he went to a bad place. Like, to me, Lance, Mac Jones, Trey Lance, Mac Jones, Trey Lance, Trevor Lawrence all went to significantly better places than both Zach Wilson and Justin Fields. So I think that's going to also have a lot to do with the outcomes of their careers from now on. But yeah, I like the pick for the Bears. He was the great value. He was the right pick there. But man, I'm worried, man. I've never seen these quarterbacks with the Bears. Like, there's still a part of me that believes that Mitchell Trubisky might have a small second act to his career, and everybody will be like, wow, look at the Chicago Bears and how bad they are with quarterbacks.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we'll find out. Only time will tell over the next couple of years, but it's going to be fascinating to watch Lance with Shanahan, Lawrence with Urban Meyer, Zach Wilson with Robert Saleh, and what's his face, Justin Fields with Matt Nagy, to see, how these quarterbacks develop. I just think Trey Lance with Kyle Shanahan seems like the most stable situation, and obviously it's a little biased, but I think if you were to pick a pair from this draft that would succeed, I would bet on those two.
Yeah, Blake, who would you bet on?
Oh, I'm going Niners all the way. I mean, you look at just stability, offensive weapons, O-line, like world-class organization. I think the Jets and the Jaguars the last 10 years have not been the pillars of success in the NFL. You could say the same for the Bears at quarterback. Patriots, on the other hand, it seems like a pretty good bet what they're building there. So I'd say that's probably my number two option for, successful head coach quarterback. But, man, Bears, all the mocks were having a decent amount had the Bears trading up for Fields, and now I'm like, Fields is not going to fall out of the top 10, no way. But he actually fell, and I guess maybe you guys know something that I don't, but I'm surprised. I mean, I really thought people would be more willing to trade up in the top 10. I thought the Broncos for sure, Broncos or Panthers, someone would trade up with them to go get him.
Kosh?
Yeah, I agree. I didn't think he'd fall out of 10. Hell, if he was going to be available at 11, right, that's where he got picked. I would have told the Niners to trade up one spot and get him at 11. But, yeah, well, I guess we'll find out in the days to come as stuff leaks, like why he fell. I've heard potentially it could be linked back to his epilepsy, which, again, is scary for a team, right? You're putting all your chips in with a franchise quarterback, and I know there are reports that it's okay, and his family's grown out of it, and he should as well in his 20s, but it's a scary position to take on a franchise quarterback that you're spending all this draft capital on and risking your professional career. So I could understand why you'd hesitate, and Chicago, especially with Nagy and Ryan Pace, like not really worried about their job security, worried about their job security, would make a move like that.
Yeah, I was astonished. To me, it was just whack. It was just a wacky ownership decision. Two guys who might not even have a job next year are allowed to basically, they didn't give up that much in terms of assets, but go get your quarterback of the future. Because I always think when you have a young quarterback on your roster, it becomes very difficult to hire a new coach, because coaches always want to be tied to their quarterback, and you have to find a coach that wants to be tied to a quarterback. So for those reasons, I do worry for Justin Fields. But, I mean, I think we all agree the talent is special. Like, there's a little Russell Wilson to him in terms of his athleticism, in terms of the mix of athleticism and downfield accuracy. So, hopefully he can succeed in Chicago. But, yeah, if I had to bet on one, it's 100%. I would go Lance, Shanahan 1, Lawrence, Urban 2, just because of Lawrence. 3 would be Jones and the Patriots, and then I would go Fields, and then finally Zach Wilson, or actually Zach Wilson and Fields would be tied for last. So, though I believe in Robert Saleh and Mike LaFleur more than I believe in Matt Nagy. I don't think highly of Matt Nagy. I think Matt Nagy is Adam Gase in Miami. He's going to get his second job, and people are going to find out he's Adam Gase.
Yeah, I was just gonna say our Justin Fields takes are gonna look horrible 5 years from now.
Oh, 100%.
If he's on the career path that we think, and he's not able to overcome the coaching in Chicago, because everyone's gonna be like, see, why'd you guys say Fields over Lance? And Lance is like balling with Shanahan, and it'll just be like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
situation matters.
I already preemptive tweeted it. I was like, yeah, I'm going to look like an absolute idiot for saying that Jones and Fields were better than Lance, because there's no way. Even Wilson, I'm going to look like an idiot, because the thing with Shanahan is we've seen it with Nick Mullins. We've seen it. Hell, we've even seen it with Jimmy Garoppolo a lot. He can manufacture stats. So the stats for Lance are always going to look really good. And
the efficiency is going to look great.
Right. And so if Lance really lives up to maybe like even 70% of what he is, he will still be the first or second best quarterback in this draft statistically. So it's going to look good either way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, guys, we've kind of reached the end here. We've streamed for about 30 minutes, just our quick reactions to what happened to the quarterbacks today. Akash, thank you so much for joining us. Guys, make sure that you guys go check him out at Niners Nation. He's a phenomenal writer. He's fantastic on the Shannon Plan podcast with Kyle Posey. Kyle Posey is also awesome. They do an awesome job there. Akash, again, thank you so much for coming on. You're becoming a huge deal. So for us to get you on, it's always a big deal. And go ahead.
I was going to say I appreciate it. I love watching you guys too, because I learn a lot from what you guys say. And I know Vish is the next big thing too. So it's always cool to be on your guys' show. I appreciate it.
I appreciate that a lot, Akash. That's really nice of you to say. Blake and I will be back tomorrow. I might be really tired because I'll be pulling an all-nighter to study for my exams, but we will be back to break down what happens in the second round. Before we go, do you guys have anybody you want? Whether Blake, it's for the Packers, Akash for the Niners. Is there anything you want to happen tomorrow?
Akash, you got this one.
Considering every prediction I had for tonight was wrong, I will just take a swing. Elijah Molden, Asante Samuel, Tyson Campbell. I'd say one of those corners ends up as a Niner tomorrow.
Blake, any Packers, Niners? What's your prediction for tomorrow? Can be anything.
All right. Packers. I want them to trade up in the second and grab one of these receivers while they are available. Or if Barmore or Owosu-Koromoa fall to the mid-second round, I'd want to trade up for them. You know, they have some compensatory picks from guys that left, so they have a little extra ammunition to trade up and do that. So I hope they do that. You know, maybe make Rodgers not want to host Jeopardy this upcoming fall and have him stay. But, you know, we will see.
For me,
it's going to be crazy. Whatever happens there. Happens with Rodgers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So for me, one, it's please don't trade Aaron. Actually, please do trade Aaron Rodgers to the Denver Broncos. I was really sad. We'll talk about Aaron Rodgers tomorrow a little bit if there's time, but I was really sad that I thought like there was a part of me 2 hours before the draft. Blake knows we were on the phone and I was like, he's going to be a Niner. He's going to be a Niner, blah, blah, blah. That didn't happen. That was super disappointing, but I'm happy with Trey Lance. But what I do want is in that third round, I want the Niners, if he's there, to take Michael Carter. Because I think the value for running backs, I know a lot of people wanted to trade back into the first round for Najee and stuff, which I thought was nuts. I thought you wanted Najee?
Yeah, dude.
I thought you were an analytics guy.
I didn't want Najee. It was a prediction because Najee Harris, when the Niners were at 12, was like, I'm going to be a Niner because they zoomed a bunch with Bobby Turner. And I was like, they must love this guy. And when they love somebody, they do stupid shit sometimes and they'll trade back into the first round. So I was like, they're going to trade back, but I guess not.
Yeah, so I was like, thank God. Like, Najee, Etienne, I thought those were the two wackiest picks of the first round. And I love Travis Etienne, but I thought those were the two wackiest picks of the first round. I know people love Javonte and all of that. Michael Carter in the third round, man. I'm telling you, he is the perfect fit for this run scheme. He will be special in this run scheme. He won't be special in the Packers run scheme, even though it's similar just because, you know, players succeed with the 49ers more than they succeed with the Packers. We'll just see Trey Lance up here and Jordan Love down there. But, yeah, I've gone a little bit crazy. Thank you guys for joining us. John V., we really appreciate your generous donation. We're all really hyped about Trey Lance, and we'll be back tomorrow. Akash, once again, thank you so much.
Thanks,
Of
Akash.
course, guys, appreciate it. Thanks for everyone that's tuning in super late and listening to us. Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Please like, subscribe, share. We'll see you tomorrow.